All right, hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. Today I'm going to do a short video on how we teach our hybrid safeties. I got a comment from one of our subscribers, a Spell Daddy, so I appreciate a Spell Daddy. Thank you for watching videos and making comments. I'm going to give you a brief intro explanation on a certain drill, half-line drill that we use and what we have to do with our safeties because they are hybrid position players, okay? Also, remember, in the community, we have memberships going on now and we have merchandise going on. If you go to the community page of our YouTube site, all right, Fernando Franco is one of our newest members, so thank you very much, Fernando Franco, for what you do and contributing to the channel to help make us, all right, the best channel we can be to put out better content, better cameras, better settings, better backdrop, all the things we want to do moving forward in the future. Remember to check out some of our sponsors, GameStrat, sideline replay system we use. There'll be a link in the description box below for you to click directly on the link to take you to GameStrat's website. It's the sideline replay system we use. If you're looking for a highly reliable, highly affordable sideline replay system, make sure you check out GameStrat. DifferenceUSA, the ultimate striking machine. We have one in our weight room. Get thousands of reps in the off-season without needing a partner. You don't need a bag. You don't need a med ball. You just hook it up to one of your racks in the weight room, and it's got different tension springs that you can change as the kids get better. You're striking all the time. You're coming out of a stance. You could use it for just about every position on the field to learn how to strike, elbows in, thumbs up. So make sure you check out DifferenceUSA. All right, so if you've watched our channel before, all right, you understand that we play hybrid safeties. We play left and right safeties. We don't play strong and weak safeties. We play with a free safety behind them. So our left and right safeties are hybrid players that play on one side of the field unless we are playing man coverage. If we are playing man coverage and there's 3x1 or quads or something that we've got to flip to the other side, we will. But in our base pattern match, split field coverage defense, they play one side of the field and they have to be able to play read side coverages and away side coverages. What I mean by that is they have to be able to know how to play with the free safety on their side, which makes them a strong side read side player, and they have to know how to play away from the free safety, which makes them a weak side player or an away cut side player. All right, so what I'm going to talk about today, and about all I can get to, all right, in a shorter video, is the starting blocks for how we have to train our safeties as hybrid safeties. And I'm going to start in a pattern match defense with our two-read or our Poms concept, because I think that's the most important one, because they're going to have two different positions that they have to know how to play as far as the responsibilities and the reads are concerned in our two-read. But then we also rotate them into the position that the corner plays to get them to understand the footwork and the reads they have to make when we go to one of our 3x1 adjustments that we call mix. Some people call it mini, or I don't know if it's stubby maybe, but or from what the Saban terminology is. I call it mix. That's how I know it. It's our two-read coverage with two safeties on 2 and 3 with our corner X out playing man on number 1. So when we first start, knowing that we have hybrid safeties, we start in the very beginning, if we're allowed to do 7-on-7, or when we are registered in a 7-on-7 league and we can do 7-on-7, we start with our half-line pattern read, all right, Poms, what we call, I just call it Poms Drill. All right, it's basically, it basically starts off on the back end as a kind of a 3-on-3 half-line drill, and then eventually we will always put, all right, one of our stack linebackers in the middle to play the coverage. But today we're not talking about stack linebackers, we're talking about just the safety, so I just have the safeties drawn up. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with one safety down, one safety high, and there's always going to be another safety ready to rotate in, and we're going to rotate through, all right, the positions. Now, when we start off originally doing the drill, I will teach the free safety, and I will rotate the free safety with all the safeties, and I will teach all my safeties how to play the high and low spot of Poms, and then eventually I will teach them all how to play the corner read in Poms, all right? And then as we gravitate towards the season and we know who the free safeties are, if I have guys that only play free safety, then they only get reps at the high spot. And my left safety and my right safety are the ones that have to get reps at both of these spots, and then at the same time they have to end up getting reps at the corner spot. And that's something you can do as a safeties coach. You can do drills during your indie period so that if you don't want to take reps away from the corner when you're doing a Poms drill or a half-line drill, you don't have to take reps away from the corner. You can do that in your safety individual drill, or in the off-season you can do that where you're working. Because the technique is different. For us, it's going to be butt to the sideline, and it's going to be a shuffle-out technique. All right, but we have to understand the reads that we're making on the pattern match stuff, because we are going to be trading certain routes and reacting to certain routes a different way. So we have to understand how to make those reads. So biggest thing we have to know right away is they have to be able to play high and low. So all three safeties will learn how to play high and low in our pattern match. All right. So when we're working on a three-man half-line drill, the main thing with the down safety, the guy that's low, all right, he has to understand, all right, that 3 can't out-leverage me. All right, what does that mean? That means 3 cannot get outside of me. I am responsible for 3 wide, and I am responsible for 3 if he turned up the field and ran a wheel. That would become a matching man concept for me. So I have to match any 3 that wants to try and get wide. So it's usually from the backfield when we're doing this drill. All right, and then we try to tell him that 2 doesn't cross my face. Okay, so another way of looking at that is I'm a curl dropper unless 3 pushes me out towards the flat. All right, so I'm going to drop tight to the curl inside of 2 unless 3, all right, crosses my face and pushes me out to the flat. So I'm going to stay in the curl unless I'm delivered to the flat. 3 can't out-leverage me, 2 doesn't cross my face. We want to try and get hands on 2. We want to make sure that 2 can't just cross our face that easily, but at the same time, when you're playing a pattern match concept where a vertical of 2 is going to be played man-to-man by a safety, reroutes are not the quintessential point of emphasis like they would be if you were playing a cover 2 defense or a defense that had seam integrity issues. When you're playing a Poms defense, there really are no seam integrity issues as far as putting 2-on-1 deep down the field, because if 2 players go vertical, we're going to match those vertical routes man-to-man. So if we could get hands on 2, that would be great. All right, but a lot of times when 3 pushes in motion, there's a lot of times where we may have to widen to where by the snap of the ball, we're almost outside of 2. We're never going to get hands on him. The biggest thing you want to let him know about 2 not crossing his face is when 3 is away from him or 3 cannot out-leverage him, because he's got an inside defender that is going to drop off a 3, and if he loses that defender based on where 3 goes, now he's got to understand that we can't let 2 cross our face. We might have to carry that shallow or that underneath release of number 2 because I'm losing my middle hole 3 defender who's dropping with 3. Okay, so 3 can't out-leverage me, 2 doesn't cross my face. Those are the base rules. All right, I'm a curl dropper unless I get pulled to the flat. Those are kind of the base rules. So when we're playing the down spot, what we're working on is we want to be able to have him tell us, all right, that number 3 running back, 2 things you got to be able to tell me. Was his release tight or was his release wide? All right. I want him to be able to tell me that because I need to know that his eyes are on the right place. He's looking at the right thing. If you're looking out at number 2, you got a problem because you really don't have anything to do with 2 matching into coverage, all right, unless 3 was away or unless 3 was tight and you tried to get underneath 2. In other words, if 2 goes to the flat, you don't have to play it. So a lot of times these guys have a tendency to peek at 2. 2 goes out, they widen, and we lose them in the run fit. And there's no need for him to widen when 2 goes out because 2 out is going to be played by the corner. So I need that guy to focus on telling me what the releases tight and wide are. So what am I saying? Anything that releases out here to me, I'm going to consider wide. Anything that releases inside like that, I'm going to consider tight. Okay? And when we add the stack backer to the drill and he's a 3 dropper, he's going to read the same thing. So those underneath guys, after every play, got to tell me, hey, tight or wide? Hey, that was wide, coach. Okay, good. That was tight, coach. Okay, good. Because it's going to affect my drops. All right? So that guy's got to be able to tell me tight or wide. All right? And then on the top half of this, all right, what we're looking at on the top half, and we try to make it as easy as we can within our rules. We want to know, does 2 go in, does 2 go out, or is 2 vertical? Now, here's how we define it. And when you're playing 2-reader Poms coverage, everybody defines it a different way. It's up to you how you want to play it. Your guys on the field have to understand what your rules are. So for us, we treat linebacker depth, which for us is really that safety. Okay, so for us, we talk to our guys in terms of safety and linebacker depth because there's sometimes when you are playing Poms with a safety down, and then there's times where you're playing Poms and it's the stack backer that's down. All right, so it's really the depth of the apex defender. All right, what did that number 2 do before the depth of the apex defender. So anything that goes under the apex defender's face is considered in. Anything that goes outside, underneath the apex defender's depth, again, and it doesn't mean his original depth. If he gets a read and drops for pass, anything that happens underneath his depth that does not get by him is how we declare it. All right, so anything that goes outside underneath his depth we consider out. Anything that is outside of him and past him we consider vertical. Now, you're going to run into some issues with some route combinations and some things that are going to be kind of tricky. They're going to be different. All right, they're going to give you some issues. You can't only carry this coverage in your defense when you're playing two remove receivers. You have to have other coverages that you go to because the offense is always going to have coverage beaters and you have to have coverage answers. So what we try to do when we are in our two-read pattern match defense, we try to make sure that we work on coverage beaters and we try to defend the things we know that are going to be an issue, and we try to work on being on the same page with all three defenders so that there are no busts in the coverage. If we're all on the same page and we force them to make good throws into good windows, all right, then we have to have a coverage answer for some of the beaters that they're getting us with. If we bust the coverage and we get them to make easy throws into big windows for big plays, that's a bigger problem. So the communication of how we do this is the utmost important, and the corner has to know, just like the other safety has to know what these releases are, because we're going to treat them all different. Okay, we're going to treat them all different. Now, we are not exactly the same as everybody else with how we treat inside releases. When we get an inside release by number 2, we're going to zone the quarter and look for work. We're not going to immediately go to rob number 1. And one of the reasons for that, okay, and I'll tell you the reason for it, and then there's other ways to teach it. But one of the reasons for that, all right, again, make sure everybody's clear. We have in, we have out, and we have vertical. Okay? In, out, vertical. So when we start with in, we tell the high safety, zone your quarter. All right? Look for work. Now, the reason we tell them that is because one of the first concepts you're going to start getting, and there's 2 reasons we tell them that, all right? If a back pushes in motion and gets out here, and your safety has to widen, doesn't have to jump it, we're not jumping it man, we're just widening to match the leverage. A lot of times this 2 will get a clean release vertical that on paper looks like it is inside of the down safety apex linebacker, because that player was pulled out. Now, the key is, you don't have to leave until that guy forces your leverage. So if that guy starts to go in motion and he's still inside of you, you don't have to run out, because the next thing you're going to get is RPOs and quarterback runs. So you got to hold your water as long as you possibly can. Once that player gets outside of me, now I've got to expand, which means I may not get hands on that number 2, which means at some point that route to the free safety is going to look like it's inside the apex player. So if that route looks like it's inside and we turn to rob number 1, you get that kind of dickum route where these teams that understand how to beat match coverage bring this guy in here and then they work him back vertical, and you run to rob number 1 and that guy rips up the field. So we treat in releases a little bit differently than some people do, but that's just because I want to make the offense matriculate down the field. I don't want busted coverages. So if I get an in release, I may not be able to double number 1 automatically. I may not be able to look backside all the time right away to a dig or a crosser coming. So I just zone the quarter, look for work, and we end up reading right off the quarterback and letting him take us to the ball. And then we have to have other coverages in to cover some of those things. I know a lot of people with an inside breaking route of 2, free safety with rob, posted curl of 1. I get it. I've played it before. I've tried it. We've got beat with some routes where 2 went in and up, and our free safety said, well, coach, 2 went in. He was under the apex backer, but then he ended up going vertical, and we got beat, so we changed how we do it. All right, so an inside release for us is going to be zone the quarter, look for work. All right, an outside release for us, any release that we think is outside, all right, we have now got to go find number 1, and we talk about eyes and feet. Okay, eyes and feet. which means when that 2 goes out, not only do I have to snap my eyes to 1, but I got to start bringing my feet, all right, and my hips and everything that go with it, all right? So I've got to bring my eyes, my feet, my hips, everything's got to take me to where 1 is going, all right? So because I've got to possibly be ready to play that route, and depending on how hard we trigger the corner down, you're going to have that whole shot there where we've got to be able to get eyes and feet to where 1 is. Now, I've seen people teach it to where they go flat and then come up, and then I've seen people teach it, we teach it in a little bit safer, we take a little bit more of an angle to where we're going to try and cut off, all right, if they complete that whole shot, we're going to try and cut it off and tackle it and not go flat and let it get over our head. I've seen it done both ways. Depends on the skill set of your safeties. Depends on the skill set of their quarterback. The way to protect that is with other coverages, number 1, and number 2, your corner, all right, being taught that he doesn't trigger down until the quarterback brings him down. So that route, he knows that route is there, so he's going to sit and settle. If the quarterback brings him down, he drives it. If the quarterback doesn't, he can still help us on the whole shot. That's something you got to work on all the time because you're going to get, versus Poms, you're going to get 5-yard out vert. And if you come off, if the corner comes off on the out, all right, they're going to read it and they're going to try and throw the vert. So you got to know that's a beater. You got to work on it all the time. But generally for us, the high safety, if 2 is out, if 2 goes out, which is outside underneath the depth, all right, of the apex safety or linebacker. So we are going to slow pedal. Our first 3 are going to be slow out. Then we're going to get into our pedal. Within our first 3, if that guy is out, boom, we got to get eyes and feet working to 1 right now because it's going to come almost. The reason they call it 2 read is with 2 to the flat, it essentially becomes a cover 2 concept. Okay? So with 2 out, that's what we got to be working. All right, and then if 2 is in, if 2 is vert, we got to match that man. So what did we say vert was? Vert was deeper and outside of that safety. So anything that's deeper and outside of that safety, we're now a match man player. Okay, we're a match man player. And we try to keep the rules that simple for the high safeties. In, out, vert, and when we're doing a drill, all right, when we're doing a drill, I make sure I tie these 2 guys together, and then I tie, when I put the stack backer in, I tie these 2 guys together. You 2 had better tell me every time, tight or wide, and you 2 had better tell me every time, in, out, vertical. Now, here's the one thing we do in the drill. Don't tell me what route he run. I'm not asking you, when we initially do the drill, don't tell me what route he ran. Okay? Tell me in, out, vertical, and I know we're all on the same page. Because what's going to happen is they're going to get beaten and they're going to say, well, coach, 2 took 3 steps inside, then he came back outside, then he went up the field. Tell me, did he go in? Did he go out? Did he go vertical? That's all I need to know because we ought to match it off of that. Yes, they're going to have patterns that dick with the coverage, and yes, they're going to have return routes and other routes. Base it off of 3 simple things. Was he in, which means under the apex safety? Was he out, okay, which means outside the apex safety underneath his depth? Was he vertical? That means he's outside that safety and he's pushed past his depth. Okay, those are the only 3 things I need you to tell me. In, out, vertical, tight, wide. And when we're working a drill early on, I make sure that I hammer the fact, you 2 had better tell me tight or wide, you 2 had better tell me in, out, vertical, and your coaches better coach the hell out of it and make sure that they're right. And then we can match. If we can't read the patterns right, and guys aren't on the same page, you're never going to match the patterns with guys that are on different pages. If we get on the same page, then we can work on all the things we need to do to match the patterns, and then we can work on the next coverage built in to take away the things that are to read Poms beaters. Okay? So that's the high part of it, working on in, out, vertical, all right, and then working on what our rules are. In, zone the corner, out, eyes, feet, hips, 1, all right, vertical, man match on that vertical route. Okay, now the down guy. All right, the down guy. If 3 is wide, we've got to push our drop wider. We don't have to match 3 man-to-man, okay, because all we have to match is the width of 3 so that he can't get outside of me and up the field on a wheel route. Okay, so we're not going to drop real deep like old school stuff. We're going to drop flatter. We're going to try and get right to the hip of that number 2 receiver. But if 3 is taking us past him, eventually we're going to have to get out here to match the width of number 3. All right, we got to match the width of number 3. And then as we get 3 wide, as we work, now we've got to be able to square up and see what the QB's doing. so that we can break off the throws that the QB's making. With 3 wide, you're going to get flood routes. We need to be able to stay wide enough in this window to force the quarterback to throw the ball down, and then we need to be able to rally and tackle the ball when it's thrown down. If we go wide and attack that route, they're going to throw that 10-yard out, matching man concept on our free safety all day long. We've got to make that throw tough. Okay? So if 3 is wide, if 2's going vertical, all right? If 3 is wide now, you can assume 2's either going vertical, all right? Maybe he runs wheel, but he's either going vertical or he's coming in. All right? 1 or 2, somebody's coming in if 3's going out. So if 2's working vertical, we're working through 2 hard and then matching the leverage of that number 3. Okay? If 3 is tight, so he releases tight to the tackle box and does some type of hook or spot, or maybe even if he works some type of choice route. If 3 is tight, we're working tight to the inside hip of 2, trying to never get outside 2. So if 3 doesn't widen, if 3 doesn't push me this way, I should never get outside of 2. I need to stay inside of that number 2 at all costs. And then if 2 were to go work vertical, I might have a chance to get hands on him as he goes vertical now. Now I need to square up and see what's going on. All right, be able to play some football. Stay inside of 2 as long as I can stay inside of 2. Once he gets past me, it's going to be hard to tell whether he broke out or he broke in. So we try to wall if we can. If 3 is tight. Now maybe we can get hands on 2. If we don't, if 2's past us, we got to square up and find some work to see what's going on, all right, in the route progression. Remember, if 2 is past us and runs the dig, who do we expect to play? We're going to expect the free safety to have to try and jump and match that dig. Okay? Now, eventually guys will tell you that if 3 is tight and we work out to 2 and 2's vertical, now we might have to turn and find 2 on the dig. I don't teach our guys that. I teach our guys to work tight to the hip of 2. If 2 goes vertical past you, if 3 is tight and 2 is vertical past you, snap your hips, head, shoulders around, get square, and find the QB. And now if he's going to throw the dig, we might be able to come back here and help late, but I don't think we're going to be underneath the dig. We want to stay inside of 2 as long as physically possible. But if he keeps working vertical past us, we're not going to turn and trail him and find him in the dig window. That's just not what we do. Okay? What I want to make sure is that when I turn to find work, if 2 is running some type of dig, I want to make sure I can defend this area in case 3 ran some type of choice and worked his way out here. All right, in case I'm getting dig with maybe any type of, all right, double breaking fin or dig route, or maybe it's a levels concept where it's dig there and a fin here. I want to be able to help that window there. Free safety's got to drive the dig, and then my stack backer would be on top of the route of 3, all right, and we try and make that window to throw the dig as tight and as tough as we possibly can. All right, so the underneath defender is working on, all right, wide routes and what he has to do. He's working on tight routes and what he needs to do. And we're always going to run 3 on some type of wheel route to make sure this guy understands that as he pushes with it, that's my route. Okay? So when you're working with hybrid safeties, the first thing you start, and this is just one coverage. Okay? One coverage, one video. You start your 2-read drill, you start it in half line, and you make sure all your safeties play all 3. So you just go left safety down, right safety's out, free safety's high. All right, right safety comes in, free safety goes down. So that on the first rep, it looks like this. On the second rep, it should look like this. Free safety down at the beginning, early in the offseason. I'm not talking about eventually. Free safety down, right safety high, left safety out. Next drill. All right, sorry, next rep. Right safety down, left safety high, free safety sitting out. And you are just rotating these over and over and over again to get those 3 positions playing in those 2 spots. Eventually, when you get further along the line, you take the free safety out of that mix, and the free safety, all right, plays this high spot only. And then your safeties coach has got to work more of these type deals, all right, in his individual drill as well, so you get as many reps as possible. But if you're going to play hybrid safeties, my safeties have to play for us. They've got to play that, and they have to play that. So we had better teach them both how to do those things in that coverage. Then eventually, as you get into run game, you got to teach him his fit and his reads, what he's looking at. If he's looking at tackle through to a near back, you got to teach him what his fits are on runs at him, runs that go away. You got to teach them how fast you expect them to be in a fit, because you got to talk to them about RPOs. All right, so just a classic example of that, just so you understand where I'm going with all this. They had a 2-receiver set with a back set here, and we had a stack linebacker there, a left safety down, our free safety here. We are going to talk to this kid about being slower in the fit to stay in that RPO window, because for us in the 3-3 stack, this guy is the immediate B-gap fitter depending on how they block it. We are trying to send the ball to you. You don't need to fold and disappear in here. You are not the B-gap player. We need you to help defend those RPOs. So that's down the line, down the road. You're going to have to teach that kid what he does in the run game. But right now we're just talking about hybrid safeties, playing Poms, 2-read for us. Okay, what they have to do in 2-read, how they have to play it when they're playing 2-read, how they have to know how to play down and back because we are a hybrid safety team, how we have to do drills to get them incorporated in that. Down the road, we'll make them be corners and get them to shuffle out and read the release 2, because that's very similar to what they're going to have to do when we play our mixed coverage in 3-by-1. And then eventually you got to get to all the other coverages. We didn't even talk about cut side today. You got to get to cut side and talk to them about being a sky player, being a deep half player, being a hawk player or a vision and break player. All right, you got to talk to him about all those things that he's going to do on the cut side and everything else. So there's going to be a lot that goes into it. There's going to be a lot of things. There's going to be a lot of things that you have to break down and teach. That's why we eliminate certain coverages from our package, not because we don't like the coverages. We can't teach them all. So we try to get our guys on the read side and the cut side only being able to play maybe 3 coverages at the most to each side. When you're talking about, like 2 detached. We're only going to play 2 detached in our zone concepts 1 or 2 ways. We're going to play it quarters. We're going to play it 2-read. Very rarely will we play it in a true 2 deep. We don't play a lot of 3 deep matching zone concepts because I don't want to teach that to the kids because it's too much. So because our guys are hybrid players that have to play a lot of different roles, we have to limit the coverages we use. And then they're always going to have to be man players, because that's going to be one of the next adjustments we make, is always going to be some version of man free. So we got to limit what we can run with them. Okay, we have to understand in drills how to teach what we need to teach to them. We got to know what our base is and what we hang our hat on. All right, our base is 2-read. If we play 2 detached, got to hang our hat on 2-read. They got to be able to play quarters concepts or curl flat concepts because we're a quarters team to tight end flanker. All right, and then to the cut side, they got to be able to play D-gap run, curl flat, all right, which is similar if they're in quarters, so it's not much different. Then they got to be able to play a true deep half, okay, and then they got to be able to play a quarters technique, which is the same for them as when we get into our robber defense. So a lot of different things going on. That's how we teach our hybrid safeties in 1 coverage, and that's how we drill it in 1 coverage. If you go back and watch all the different defensive videos I've done on split field coverage, it'll make more sense to you when I talk about things we do to the single side, things we do on the 2 removed or 3 removed side. All those things will start to make sense. You can't do 1 video on teaching hybrid safeties in 25 minutes and expect everybody to have it down pat. This is just to kind of give you an understanding of what we have to do and why we have to do it. Why do we go to these extremes? Because now when teams shift motion or trade, my safeties can always be on the read side. They've always been taught how to be on the read side. They've always been taught how to be on the cut side. So we have whatever our toolbox is. If we get a tight end trade or a shift or a motion, we have the ability to move our free safety and play whatever coverages we want to the numbers and whatever coverages we want to the cut side. We're not stuck making 1 coverage adjustment because our field nickel can only play certain things and our weak side safety can only play certain things. They're both field nickels. They're both weak side safeties. They're hybrid players, so we like it because of the flexibility it gives us. Just have to understand, cut down some of your coverages that you can play, increase your drill time with them because they have to be repped at different positions. All right, check out some of our other sponsors. We've got JustPlayFB, which is the diagram tool that I use. All right, it's digital software taking your program to the next level. It's the only drawing tool I use. Make sure you check out Defense Coordinator 1, an in-game app that lets you make critical in-game adjustments based on the actual live in-game data that's happening while you're coaching. Coaching. And then DomeHats. This is our Orange Park Dome hat. Swords up on the back. DomeHats is a great customer-friendly company formed by 2 former football players and coaches, 2 former Florida football Gator players, Florida Gator graduates, So 2 great guys. Jeff Whitaker, Chris Hetland, 2 great guys, great company. Every hat has a story. Let Dome help you tell yours. All right, remember that the Play Fast Clinic is coming up, the very first one, January 24th, 25th, 26th. St. Augustine, Beach, Florida, right on the beach, right on the ocean, the Embassy Suites. It's beautiful. Go to www.playfastfbclinic.com, www.playfastfbclinic.com. Remember to turn notifications on so you know when we do videos. Remember to like these videos, thumbs up, thumbs down. Remember to comment. This video was spawned from a comment because I read every comment and respond to every comment that I get. So remember to comment. Remember that now in the community section we have merchandise. We have some hoodies and some long sleeve shirts, some t-shirts, some tank tops, some coffee mugs, some stickers in the community section if you want some Play Fast gear. Also, you can become a member, and when we start doing live chats, you can get the benefit of being shouted out in videos like today with Fernando Franco, and then you can also be able to super chat and have your chat stay up there, and people will recognize it with an emoji that you get. So down the road, we're going to be doing some things that you may want to be a member. All right, so go to the community page on the YouTube page itself, the Coach Mac page. Check out the community site. All right, and I appreciate everything that you guys do for me. I appreciate where we've been the last 7 years and how big the channel is now. 17,555 subscribers, 2,350,000 views. Thank you for everything you do. Remember, you won't play well until you play fast. I'll see you guys next time.